Good day, everyone. I am Lloydjan B. Stampa, and I will be discussing to you today all about design thinking. All about design thinking. So, there are three parts of my presentation in this session. The first part would be tackling about what is design thinking. The second part is how to be a design thinker. And the last part, or the third part, what are the key benefits of doing design thinking? So, let's start. What is design thinking? So to start with, I am presenting to you here a picture about design thinking. So as you can see in this picture, it looks like a brain with many colors in a very intricate designs with bubbles, circles, curves, symbols. Definitely, this gives us idea what is design thinking. No, there are many ideas in design thinking. There is a fusion of ideas, there are creation of ideas, and there are culmination of ideas, no? And it involves the brain, no? So when you do design thinking, you really have to maximize your brain power in order to design something towards innovation. Now, in this part of the slide, we have several companies here, some famous companies utilizing design thinking towards innovation. Like, for example, you have the IKEA, the Starbucks, the Apple, IBM, Nike, Procter& and Gamble, Cisco, Toyota, Airbnb, Bank of America, ESPN, IDEO, and many other companies. So if you have a fundamental knowledge or a background knowledge, or if you yourself is a design thinker, it would be to your advantage if you apply or work to any of these companies because they are heavily putting premium about design thinking, especially on their services and products. So again, it is a very good asset and advantage in our part if you know how to do and practice design thinking. Okay? So what is the big idea about design thinking? So how do I know that I am doing design thinking, or am I really doing design thinking? What are the keywords? What are the big idea about this? So with this, let me present to you some set of keywords that will give you an idea whether you are actually doing design thinking or not. So I have an acronym here, IDEA, IDEA. So if you do these several steps, like for example, in letter if you do involve yourself, you immerse, you ideate, and then you implement, that is design thinking. If you discover, you define, you develop, and then you deliver, that is design thinking. If you explore, you empathize, you engage, and you evolve something, again, that is design thinking. And if you acquaint, you analyze, you articulate, then you apply, again, that is design thinking. So what I'm trying to send as a message here is that doing design thinking involves different action verbs, different verbs, different terminologies. And if you just do them in sequence in solving a problem and providing an innovative solution, then maybe along the way, you are already practicing design thinking. So I'm presenting here, what's the big idea? What are the things that design thinkers usually do when they are doing design thinking? Okay? So this, if you search in the internet, what are the different steps to do design thinking? These are the steps. First is that you empathize, then you define, you ideate, you prototype, and then you test. But even though it is presented in this order, design thinking is iterative in nature. What do you mean by iterative? It is expected that it is not a one-shot deal. It is not a one-shot deal. That means along the way, while doing design thinking, you might be expected to do again or repeat another step, go back to another step, and then enhance again that step, and then before moving to another step. So it is iterative, no? It is cyclical. You are expected to do several steps over and over again unless you have already polished or attained the maximum value or the maximum effects of your solution, or the total acceptance of the end users of your design. So if the end users are still not satisfied about your design, then do again design thinking until they are all satisfied with your solution. So again, design thinking is iterative in nature. So this is another set of steps when doing design thinking. So earlier, I have presented this. There are 5 steps. But the next is that I'm presenting a new set involving only 4 steps. So you start with sense, then you empathize. After empathizing, you define the problem. After defining the problem, you then ideate for solution, developing them into several prototypes. And along the way, while you are doing the prototyping, you are generating more ideas. So you are doing again ideation. And after the testing part of the prototyping, you refine your point of view based on the feedback of the end users, especially in gallery walk or in pitching. So which is which? Which is which? There is this 5 steps, and there is this 4 steps. So the question now is, what steps or what set are we going to use? Now, basically, in my own opinion, they are all the same, no? So if you just study the steps about empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, you can also see here the sense, the empathize. Empathize is also in this part. Ideate is also in this part, and prototype is also in this part. So they are actually the same, no? This second part, this set, is just being condensed into a shorter version or the student version, because the empathize and define in this set is tackled in the sense and empathize. Ideate is the same, and the prototype and the test is tackled in the prototype. So please don't be misunderstanding something, or you might interpret it as which is which, but they're all the same. They all focus about following several steps. They all focus on ideating problems in order to, ideating solutions to solve given problems, and all of them are iterative in nature. So, but with my presentation today, I will be presenting to you the condensed version or the student version, no? So involving the sense and sensibility, the empathy, the ideation, and the prototyping, because this is design thinking in the classroom level and student social innovation. So let's proceed now with discussing these several steps. First, we discuss the sense part. Now, in the sense part, it involves pre-surveying. No, you survey about the problem. You do research about the problem at hand. You do surveying about the end users, about the people involved in the problem, and then you might do background studying about the problem. It's called pre-surveying. No, that's the first step. Next is that you conduct observations. You might do ocular inspection to that place, talk to several people, develop rapport, and then you establish good relationship, because if you plan to work with these people, especially those people who are involved in the problem, so you do observation, you observe their place, you observe their lifestyles, you observe the nature of their jobs, you observe their surroundings, you observe their community. You need that in order to sense better the problem. Then with the target users, you have pre-assessment, no? You assess like what are the status quo, what are their concerns, what are their whereabouts about the problem. That's part of pre-assessment of target users. Then what you are doing actually is project awareness, no? Project awareness, because you are preparing your mindset, no? You should not go directly to the second part, the empathy part, because as we know, empathy is putting yourselves on someone else's shoes, no? Before doing empathy, you have to prepare first your mindset. Okay, tell yourself, okay, I'm doing research. I am going to be applying innovation. I'm going to look for solution to a given problem. But before that, I need first to psych my mind, prepare my mindset, because if your mindset is not prepared to do the next very important steps in design thinking, then that would defeat the purpose. So all in all, it begins with yourself. Prepare your mindset that you're going to do something innovative. You're going to extract some problems. You're going to repeat several steps using design thinking. So prepare your mindset. Psych yourself to be ready to immerse yourself in problem extraction and doing innovative solution. So that's how important the first step in design thinking, preparing the mindset, no? Preparing the mindset. So you have to observe, no, in the sense and sensibility phase, the people, the objects, the environment, the messages, and the services. All of these factors that are connected to the problem you are trying to address. Who are the people? What are the objects they are usually involving themselves with in their everyday lives? Describe their environment. What are the messages? The messages here means if you can see some ads, some signs. If you go into social media, what are the common news or the literature that are associated with the problem you are tackling with, no? And the services. The services are some prior solutions that have been being implemented along the way, even before your you introducing yourself to solve the problem. So it doesn't mean that you have to acknowledge that there is this problem and there might actually be services already or solutions that have been provided trying to solve this problem. So you have to acknowledge what are those previous services or previous solutions that have been attempted to solve the problem you're trying to address. Okay, so yeah, these people, objects, environment, messages, and services can be put in an acronym called POEMS, POEMS. So this is a very good template for us to show how we are sensing the problem and how we are preparing our mindset in solving a given problem. Okay, so P here, no? P defines the people or the target users or individuals involved in the activity in the project scope. O here are the things people or users interact with while doing the activity. E is the space, setting, or location where the activity is taking place. M are the visuals, relevant news, signages, and information that is being channeled because of the activity. And last but not the least, S are services by people or systems which directly or indirectly enables the activity. Again, this is a very good template in performing the first phase of design thinking called sense and sensibility in order for us to establish and have a better view of the problem we are trying to tackle with and the problem we are trying to design a solution, no, in order to solve it along the way. So that is sense and sensibility, no. So if you you can go out with your friends with the guidance of your instructor, or you yourself with your teammates do ocular inspection in a community, observe, bring your pencils, bring your papers, and after that you do observation, no. That's sense and sensibility. You observe the surroundings, you talk to several people, then it's more like you get a feeling, no. You get the feel about the situation, no. And then with that, whatever you write about the P, the O, the E, the M, and the S, put it into writing, and after that you share it. You share it with your teammates, and then you collaborate the information. You collaborate with each other, and then you consolidate the information that based on your observation. Okay, and then with that observations you have captured, you then generate some insights like what can you say about this observation, how these observations are connected in the problem, and how can you use this data in order to understand better the problem at hand. So that's sense and sensibility, no? Now, after finishing the sense and sensibility, we now look forward to do the steps about empathy or empathizing. Again, empathy is putting yourself on the target user's shoes, understanding them better. Because at the end of the day, they are the recipients of the solution, so you have to empathize better with them. You have to understand them. You have to understand their aspirations, their challenges. You have to understand their lifestyle. You have to understand their whereabouts, what are their positions, what are their thoughts, what are their feelings. That's part of the deliverables if you do the empathy part in design thinking. So in this, no, in this part, it's all about understanding the users. Again, you have to understand the users because they are the recipient of the solution. And at the end of the day, after presenting your solution to them, they are the ones who will either approve or disapprove your solution. So in order for us to fast track and do steps in doing the solution in a very smooth way, you have to understand the users better in order for you to have a very good chance of having a good approval or acceptance rate from them based on the solution that you are planning to give to them. So before that, you have to understand the target users. You have to empathize with them. And with that, you can always do these steps. You can interview them, deep interview. You immerse yourself with them. And then from that, you can get interview data. You can get data based on your experience or your immersion with them. Then with that, you get some insights. Like, okay, what can you say about this data? With that, you might have interviewed several people, relevant target users connected to the problem. And with that, you are going to represent them in the form of a persona. A persona is a representation of, is a fictional representation or a character representing all the target users or the target users that you have interviewed or immersed with connected to the problem. Now, in order to protect their identity, you're going to present them, like for example, you have interviewed like 15 people or like you have interviewed 46 people. So these 46 people should be culminated into one person, one fictional person representing all of them in order to protect their identity. So the persona is a fictional character representing several people whom are the target users of a given solution or of a given problem that needs solution. No? So that's why you do a persona. And after interviewing several people, immersing with them, understanding them better because they are the ones having problem that needs intervention, you need to extract their deep need statement. No? What are their deep need statement? Because this persona and deep need statement, are our compass. These are our compass in order for us to be guided. What are the appropriate solutions that we're going to do in order for us to answer the deep needs of these target users? No? So it's a combination of the persona and the deep need statement. That is what you mean by defining the problem. In the empathy part, you are only capable to say that you have completed this empathy part, that you have already defined the problem, if you yourself have finished done doing the persona and the deep need statement. Again, you need the persona and the deep need statement before proceeding to the ideation part, because this persona and the deep need statement are the compass of you doing the ideation of solutions later. Okay? So design thinking is a human-centered problem solving with an emphasis on empathy, collaboration, co-creation, and stakeholder feedback to unlock creativity and innovation. The key to the process is empathizing with the user's needs to solve the problem. Again, the key to the process is empathizing with the user's needs. No? So that's why, as I've said earlier, you need to know their deep need statement. You need to represent them in a persona in order to protect their identity, because you have interviewed and immersed yourself with several people. All in all, it's all about empathy. If you have just mastered empathy, you are more than capable to extract any given real deep problem of any community or to any situation, because empathy is the very key action when doing design thinking. It's all about the users. Okay, so here comes this question. Do you really know your users? Do you really know what your users need? No? I'm throwing these questions to all of you. Do you really know your users? Do you really know what your users needs? No. So design thinking is user-based designing. It is not just designing and then finding suitable users afterwards to justify your product design. No, it's a mortal sin in doing design thinking. You should capture the problem first before designing the solution, not doing the solution and then just looking for the problem or target users that might benefit with your product design or your innovative design. So it's more like a reverse engineering. No, design thinking is capture the problem first before you proceed with the solution. Okay, so it's about looking at people. No, it's about looking at people. Like for example, in this picture, as you can see, this is a design thinker. No, he wants to know how does it feel to be in the hospital bed, especially to those people having terminal illness. So what did the design thinker do? He laid down in the bed, used the camera, put some tutor in his mouth in order to have a feel. It's more like a role play in order to understand better the target users. And what he see is this view, no? Seeing things from the viewpoint of the users, not yours. Because if you visit like any loved one of yours to the hospital, what you can usually see is this. You can see them lying. But if you yourselves are the one lying in the bed, this is your viewpoint, no? So at least with this action, even though this is just a simulation, you are immersing yourself. You are empathizing with the target users. And at least you will know their feelings, their pain points. Like for in this example, how does it feel? Like you are not moving in your bed and you're only looking the ceiling in the hospital. So for some, this might be a very scary experience. So maybe that is the reason why some of our loved ones, whenever they are rushed into the hospital or for some medication or for some illness, most of them really wants to go home because it is a very scary experience always seeing this view, this pain point, this experience, no, of lying in the hospital bed for several days. Then I think empathizing with them better, you can see why they do such actions, no? Extracting their pain points, extracting their struggles, no? So again, empathy, it's about looking at people and seeing things from their viewpoint, not yours. So what you can see in the picture here, no, in empathy, like for example, if you want to understand better some pregnant people, like you want to help them, what are you going to do? So what did the design thinkers do in this side of the picture? They do simulation, no? They do simulation, they design some props in order for them, no? And then they wear it. They wear it themselves in order to have a feel. Ah, so this is how it feels if you are pregnant, no? And with that, at least they can have an idea. Oh, so maybe this with this setup, maybe some pregnant people have some difficulty in walking, difficulty in sitting down. Then with that, this is again another very good exercise of empathy. Again, design thinking is all about empathy. So you have to understand better the target users. You have to immerse with them. If as much as possible, do some things in order for you to be like them, in order to capture their struggles, to capture their pain points. All in all, with that exercises, with the immersion, the interview, the interaction, you will have an idea about how they are feeling and what are their viewpoint about the problem. Okay? So, like for example, these design thinkers here are trying to empathize with those some elderly citizens having committing mistakes, no, of doing the grocery. Maybe because they have some issues about their eyesight, about their movement. So what did the design thinkers do? They put some straps on their legs. They put some straps on their hands in order for them to have difficulty in their movement, no? And with that, they also put some blurry eyeglasses in order also to feel like, oh, maybe this is the feeling. If you have some problem with your eyesight, oh, maybe this is the feeling if you are the target user and then you're already kind of old and maybe it's very difficult to move your feet or to move your hands. So this again is a practice about empathy because design thinking is all about empathy. You can only capture the problem. You can only capture the very deep problem or the very deep needs of your target users if you have been performing empathy with them. Okay? So that's part of design thinking. That's the core of design thinking. No? So this is empathy, no? You do interview, you have to empathize with the people around you. Like, for example, as you can see in this picture, like if you want to empathize with the people, like doing rug making as their business, then do it yourself, volunteer. So at least you will have a feel, oh, this is how to do rug making. No, the rug making, it is a very challenging part of sewing, and if you're not careful, you might cut yourself from the nails. No, at least you have a feel about their life because you want to help them. Then immerse with them, empathize with them. That's empathy, no? And with that, you discuss the interview data, you share your immersion experience, you discuss again, you collaborate with your teammates, and then you try to discover the deep need statement of the people you have interviewed with or you have immersed with, no? So you can only complete the empathy part if you have already generated the need statement and you have generated the persona. Okay? So that is for empathy part. So now we are finished with the sense part and we are finished with the empathize part. We now proceed with the ideate and prototype. Now, before proceeding with the ideate part, I would just want to tell all of you the sense and empathize part, the first two steps in design thinking, this is the part where we extract the problem. No? So after extracting the problem and the deep need statement in the sense and empathize, we can now go to the ideate and prototype part where the creation of the solutions are being done. Okay? So it all starts with the ideation or the ideate. So after having the persona and after having the deep need statement, we are now ready for the ideation part. In the ideation part, what we are doing here or what we're expected to do is you brainstorm for ideas, you discuss with your teammates, and then brainstorm for ideas for possible solution. What do you mean with the term brainstorming? No, why not just use the word thinking or discussing? Why use the word brainstorming? The term brainstorming means that you do rapid thinking, you share wild ideas, and then you're only given a small amount of time. Since it's a race against time, so you generate as many ideas as possible that could be feasible for a possible solution to solve the given problem. No, so you brainstorm because there is generation of many ideas for a short period of time. So that's the only way you can call it brainstorming. No, in this part, with these many ideas that have been generated by you and your teammates, you do clustering because maybe along the way, your idea is also the same idea to one of your teammates, and then you cluster. Maybe there are 10 of you, like for example, there are 10 of you, then each one of you have shared 10 ideas. So 10 times 10, let's say you have 100 ideas all in all. So you try to summarize, you try to cluster, because maybe even though these are 100 ideas, but if you try to cluster them and classify them, maybe those 100 ideas all in all are simply, if it is being simplified, those are only, let's say, 28 ideas all in all. No, that's after summarizing all with similar keywords, similar ideas. Then that's the importance of clustering, because these are many ideas. You have to cluster them, you have to simplify them, and categorize them accordingly based on similarity, based on similar keywords, based on same concepts. That's clustering, no? And with that, you have endorsed several solutions, no? So, but you have to map, you have to prioritize, because like, for example, we only have one problem, and then you have discussed, let's say 28, no? The earlier, you have 28 solutions that might be feasible to solve the problem. But 28 is too much. You have to prioritize like what? Like, you just have to prioritize several flagship solutions that you find more feasible than the others. But of course, you have to agree with that with your other teammates, no? Okay, we have these 28 solutions, but we are only expected to present our top 3 solutions. So we need to map them all, and we need to prioritize them based on impact and then based on feasibility. And after that, after mapping and prioritization, you do concept development. No, you do concept development. Okay, we have now selected our top 3 or our top 2 solutions that we find that could be very feasible for an innovative approach and can solve the problem. And with that, you have to define it in 3 characteristics. No, it should be desirable, it should be feasible, and it should be viable. What do you mean by that? Because these are the key elements for a design thinking led solution. First is the desirability. You have to highlight with that ideated solutions of yours, can it answer the question about the target users? Like, do they want this? What makes it attractive? No? And we know as desirability is defined as having attractive, promising, and pleasing qualities, features, or properties worth having or getting for the target users. No? So it's the human component of the solution. You have to make sure that during the pitching or the presentation of your solution, you know what are the desirable parts of your design that would really attract the target users to buy your product or support your solution. Okay? So that's the desirability. Next is you have to answer the question, can we do this? No? It's all, can we do this focuses on feasibility. If the desirability is on the human component of the solution, the feasibility is the technology component of the solution. No? The questions here are, what makes it engaging? What makes your solution engaging? Can we do it using the existing technologies? So is it possible to do? Is it capable of being done or carried out? Is it doable and practicable? Maybe your design is very good, very attractive, very desirable. But looking at technology, do we already have some technology that we can harness in order to materialize the solution? Or maybe there's still no technology that can support the materialization of the solution you are trying to present. No? So good. It's good to share very wild ideas, very attractive wild ideas, but at the end of the day, you have to manifest that these ideas or solutions you're trying to present are very much doable with existing raw materials, in terms of cost, in terms of services that you're going to attach your solution with. It should be available and very feasible. No? So that's the technology component with your innovative solution. Last but not the least is the question, should we do this? And we are all talking about viability, the business component of your solution. You have to answer the questions, what makes it sustainable? Is this the best solution that can succeed? Because based on definition, viability is having a reasonable chance of succeeding in terms of existence, growth, profitability, and sustainability. Okay, so what do you mean by that? At the end of the day, you don't have the capital to manufacture, like to do massive production with the solutions that you're trying to present. You have to present like, how will this be a very good business venture that capitalists or let's say local government organizations or private institutions, how will you attract them to finance or support you with this endeavor of a solution you're trying to provide for a given set of target users or for any given community? You have to present them several figures, no? Like, I need this capital, and if in case that we're going to do some raising or fundraising about this, that there will be a chance that the rate of return, like who are the government institutions or departments that we're going to tap ourselves with in order to really sustain the solution. You have to highlight that, no? You have to highlight that. The profitability, how big is the market? You need to identify that, no? Because at the end of the day, it's all about business. How much are we talking here? No? It is very good to say that we want to help people. But in order to sustain any activity, we are only as strong as our finances. So you need money to sustain the solution. You need support. You need finances. You need some investors. So you need to highlight that during the presentation of your solution. That is the business component when we say design thinking. Okay? Because we can only say that something is innovative if there is desirability, the human side, there is feasibility, the technology side, and there is the viability, the business side. Connecting all of these three, we can say that in the core, you can say that what I am designing is really innovative, and what me and my team are doing is really innovation. So these are the three components in which we can say that a product is innovative or not. Okay? So if it's desirable and viable but not feasible, that's not innovative. If it's viable and feasible but not desirable, it's not innovative. And if it is desirable and feasible but not viable, then it's not innovative. These three, no, these three should work hand in hand, should be highlighted during the presentation of the product, during the pitching of the product, and then there will be a very good chance if you have clear descriptions and details about these three components of innovation. Okay? So that's innovation connected to design thinking. No? So in the ideation part, you do this, no? Several ideas you discuss with your teammates, then you cluster them, then you prioritize, you do concept development. That's part of ideation, no? And of course, it's a product of teamwork, no? You're going to discuss with your teammates. You might be discussing it in circles, and then you do the color coding, the thematic analysis, and then there will be several times that you really have to discuss, brainstorm. You agree to disagree because you're going to prioritize something. You're going to map which is our priority. What is the most desirable part? What is the most feasible part? What is the most viable part? And then with that, you highlight everything with all these different colored paper. These many papers, you just highlight it into at least 2 or 3 primary solutions in order to present a solution innovative enough to solve the problem, the deep need statement of the target users. Okay, so that is ideation. Like for example, let me present to you an example here of an innovation. No, social. There is a problem here about these people. No, they have the struggle of carrying their water. So it needs innovation. So what did the design thinkers do? No, instead of just you, maybe you will be tempted to use like automation, or you may be tempted to use sensors, to use very good kind of materials. But design thinking or social innovation in terms of social innovation application does not have to involve high cost or complex technology, but requires only a creative mind inspired by the will to serve or make life better for the others. So how did the design thinkers solve the situation about their deep problem? They simply put this, no? And at least the problem of carrying the heavy load, they just roll it and then connect a handle with it so that it would be easier to transport the water. Okay? So that might be a very simple solution, but the impact there, no? What we are talking here is the impact. It doesn't mean that if you spend too much, the impact will always be high or good. No, you just need a very creative mind, a very creative output based on the inputs of your collaborative efforts with your teammates. Then that flagship solution or those flagship solutions might be the answer to the problem. Okay, so it's all about impact and then minimize the cost. Okay, so like for example, if you have this problem, what are the issues with using the equipment on children? No, I think this equipment is called the MRI, or the magnetic resonance imaging. So I think based on research, some kids or some patients, especially kids, are very afraid of undergoing treatment or putting themselves inside this machine, no, because they're scared about this. So that's the problem. That's the pain point. That's the struggle. No, so how will you solve this problem? Let's see how did the design thinkers approach and solve this problem. So the solution for this is to remove the fear and to have a very good experience about the target users, or about specifically the children. The design thinkers did is this one, a pirate island. See the difference? From a simple MRI, they simply put it. No, I hope you can see the effect. That's the impact. No, I think they just spend some a small amount on the stickers or on the paint in order to make the experience of undergoing treatment using MRI or undergoing testing using MRI for children, they convert it into a pirate island. And with that, at least no, the impact is very, very good. And the kids will find it, instead of a scary experience, they might find it as a enjoyable experience. No, so that's part of design thinking. Okay, so we now proceed to the prototyping part. Okay, you are now finished with the prototyping part. You now proceed. We are finished with the ideation part. We now proceed with the prototyping part. No, the prototyping part, the steps in this phase is you channel now your solutions to the users. You're going to channel the solutions to the users. No, and then you have to select the best way possible for them to experience it. The best way possible for them to experience it. No, so you might do prototypes, diorama, illustrations, or role play, or you might do coding, you might do programming, you might do circuit designing, anything, as long as try to select the best way to channel the solution and let the target users experience it, no, for them to give feedback about the solution. No, again, these solutions are the ones that you have prioritized during the ideation part. No, let's say you have selected top 3 solutions. No, and when in the top 3 you have the one in the flagship solution, you have to present it in the form of drawing, storyboard, prototype, diorama, circuit designing, hard coding. That's it, or even role play. Those are all acceptable. Again, the message here is select a way that the solution can be experienced by the target users in order for them to give feedback. No, it is in this part where you do the pitching. No, you do the pitching. Like for example, you do the pitching if you ask for the affirmation of the target users and the support of some potential investors or capitalists, no, business persons in your solution. So you have to be very good in pitching, because pitching is a make or break process. No, if you fail to channel the solution, all your best points, and then if you fail to channel those, then your solution might not be approved, no, by the stakeholders. No, so again, you have to pitch it in order to get a feedback from the target users. No, you have to get their feedback in order to complete design thinking, because design thinking, as I have emphasized earlier, it focuses on empathy. No, it focuses on empathy, but it also focuses on co-creation. That means the solution is being designed by you with your team and the target user. So you have to get their feedbacks about, okay, this is our solution, sir, ma'am, and sirs. This is our solution that might help the problem, that might help solve the problem. So what can you say about our solution? Like, please tell us what works, what doesn't work, and then how can we make it better? And with that, the target users will say, oh, I like the part, I like the material, and then maybe, but I have second thoughts, or I am not really comfortable about the sharp edge in the design. And maybe my recommendation is that you put some safety features in it, because I just want to feel safe while using your product. No, so those are just example of getting feedback from the target users. Again, you have to emphasize that you need to get the things that they like about your solution. It's more like what works, and then the things that they don't like about your solution, or what doesn't works, and then how can we make it better? You get their suggestions, like how to further improve the solution. Why do you want to get their feedback? That's part of the process called co-creation. The designer and the target users sharing their thoughts in order to improve the solution. That's one of the cores, again, of design thinking. Empathy and co-creation. And with the feedbacks that has been given to you by the target users or by the stakeholders, at least you will have a better empathy of doing the process again. This time, the solution would be very better, and you understand better the target users. So all in all, it's a very holistic experience. It's part of the process. Okay. So these are some examples of prototyping. No, as you can see in the picture, as you can see here, it's like they use Lego for a watch, and then you can see here, as you can read, the blood pressure 120/80, 72 saved. So it's part of designing, like what would be the dashboard, what would be the dashboard design of your application. That is, if you do hard coding, you can also do circuit designing, no? You can also circuit designing. You can even present a research proposal, no? Or a position paper, or you can also do a diorama, or you can also do this the design of the interface of the app, or sometimes you can also do storyboarding, no? Like what will happen? You can do a role play, like for example, with this picture, like this person is like designing a virtual reality using just foams, cartulinas, and then inserting his smartphone, no? And then with that, you can also do diorama, no? Diorama, and then this working on the pieces together with your teammates. All in all, you have to decide with your team, like, okay, guys, this is the solution. Let's decide how are we going to pitch it, and how are we going to construct our pitch in order to have a very good chance of a strong approval of our stakeholders, especially the target users, no? So what are we going to do? Are we going to do role play? Are we going to do hard coding? Are we going to do storyboarding? Are we going to do circuit designing? Guys, let's decide. We're a team, no? So those should be the mentality of the design thinkers, no? Because by default, when doing design thinking, you're going to discuss things with your teammates, no? You always have to work as a high-performing team, no? So that's it for prototyping, no? So, and with that, after that, you do the pitching, no? Like, for example, this is a picture of a student pitching to the target users, like, oh, hello, ma'am, sir. This is how we have captured our persona. These are our interview data. This is how we do the clustering. These are the methods and the process we're trying to present to you. And then these are some prototypes that we're looking forward that might be the solution to answer your problem. Then please tell us what are the good points, what are the bad points, and how can we make it better. No, so this process is called, or this activity is sometimes called as gallery walk. No, like you are opening up your outputs, and you allow several relevant personnels or people to comment on your feedback, to comment on your output. Again, that's part of co-creation. No, it's not just you're just presenting to them and then they don't have a say of what you and your team have done. You have to capture their ideas in order to improve better the output, in order to solve the problem in a more empirical way. Empirical because you get the feedback, you analyze the data, and then you use those data to improve the solution. Okay, so this is the prototyping part of design thinking. Okay, so then after receiving all the compliments and criticisms from your target users, you have to do it again and again and again until they are fully satisfied with your product. Okay, so that's design thinking. That is the part where you have to do it again and again based on their feedback, based on their inputs, based on the co-creation that has been done. And at least, even though you are going to repeat the process, but at least this time, you already have a better empathy about the problem. You have a better empathy with the target users. And I'm pretty sure that the solution will be an improved version than the first. Okay, so that is design thinking. No, so design thinking is an iterative process. So this is design thinking. No, it is very normal to do things repeatedly. It is not a one-shot successful deal. Again, it is iterative in the process, but you learn along the way, you improve along the way, and at the end, you will get a polished output, very much acceptable by the target users and the stakeholders involved in the problem or involved with your innovation journey. Okay, so that's design thinking. Now, this if you try to look at it in an analogy, this is the design thinking process. No, it starts with a collaboration of many wild ideas. Then you cluster them. Then you do co-creation, ideation, prototyping. Then after that, eventually these ideas became smooth and becomes the solution itself, because you understand the user, you do collaboration with your teammates, you pitch it, you get their feedbacks, and then you improve it along the way. Eventually, it will become the innovative solution that will solve the problem you're trying to solve. Okay? So that is the design thinking process, no? So now, let me proceed with the second part of my presentation, how to be a design thinker. How to be a design thinker. So in order for us to be a design thinker, we have to be a caster for innovation. So what do you mean by caster for innovation? You have to be C, creative thinker, and concept developer. Are you that person? You have to be an active listener and active participant. Do you have those skills? You should be a steps follower and strong speaker. No? Are you good in pitching? Are you good in expressing your ideas? Do you really follow steps? T, are you time sensitive and team player? So what I mean about time sensitive here is that, especially in brainstorming, you don't have the luxury of time. So if given a very short amount of time, you do thinking, you do sharing, you share all your ideas, no? Whether it's wild or not, please share and then work with your team. Are you energetic and enthusiastic? Last but not the least, are you responsive and reflective? No, responsive because especially in the part of interview, in the part of ideation, in the part of co-creation and prototyping, and especially on the feedback of the target users during the pitching presentation or during the gallery walk, you have to reflect on their comments. You have to reflect on their criticisms and then be ready to do things again in order to improve the output. Okay, so those are the holistic characteristics if you want to be called as a design thinker, no, as a very good design thinker or design thinker practitioner. Okay, you have to be a caster for innovation, no? And here are the key skills to enhance for effectivity. You have to be very good in observation, like for example, the POMs, the people, objects, environment, messages, and services. You have to be very good in terms of that, the observation. You have to be very good in empathizing the target users. You have to be very good in interviewing people. You have to know when to do insights generation, especially if you have interview data, you do the clustering, that's the time you do the insights generation. Then you have to be very good in capturing the needs, no? The needs analysis. You have to be very good in capturing, okay, I have this interview data, immersion data, empathy data, or with my empathy studies. Now I need to discuss with my teammates. Because we're going to capture what is really the problem, what is really the deep problem, what is really the deep need of the target users. No, because if you can answer the deep needs of these target users, obviously that is the part where you can already solve the problem. No, so you really have to know their needs. And then with that, during the ideation, no, you do conceptualization because you've shared many ideas with your teammates, no, and then you cluster that, you prioritize, and then you conceptualize them, then you prototype them. That's part of the design thinking process, no, the prototyping skills. And then of course you have to be very good in presentation and communication. Why do you have to be very good in presentation and communication? Because what's the use of a very good idea if you yourself doesn't know how to channel it? Again, what's the use of a very good idea if you yourself doesn't know how to channel it? So it defeats the purpose if you cannot express your ideas, because ideas are very, very cheap. Ideas only become expensive the very moment these ideas are shared, no? So you need to develop presentation and communication skills to share those very good and innovative ideas, no? And with all the very good, many data you're going to be encountering during the design thinking phase, you need to practice also how to cluster data, how to categorize them, how to conceptualize them. That's data clustering. And then you have to be very comfortable about brainstorming. Always embrace brainstorming. It's always okay to speak up. It's always okay to listen when someone is talking. And it's always okay to practice the thing about agree to disagree. No, because you will be working with several person, with your teammates, and it doesn't mean that all your ideas will be accepted. So you have to be humble enough also to be open-minded. No, like for example, like you have this idea and your teammates will say like, okay, you have a good idea, maybe, no, but maybe it concerns about the concept of feasibility. Maybe your solution is good, but that might be too expensive. So you have to be ready for that, no, because it's a team effort, it's a team output. So you need to share your ideas, Try to empathize also with the ideas of your teammates. It's part of the brainstorming process. So you need to be comfortable about it. Okay? So it's all about design thinking is all about thinking outside of the box. No, thinking outside of the box. But what do you mean by that? Thinking outside of the box. As for me, what are inside this box? Because each one of us, each person has his box. Okay. So based on research or based on studies, there are 4 corners of a box. The first corner is all about hard skills. No? What are these hard skills? Like, for example, I'm one box, I am one person, and my hard skills is that I'm very good in circuit designing, and I am very good in AutoCAD. I am very good when using carpentry tools. I am very good in terms of coding or programming. Those are sample of hard skills. No. What about soft skills? The second corner. Soft skills is all about my behavior or my characteristics. Like, for example, am I an introvert person? I am an extrovert person. Do I have a very good PR when dealing with people? And am I in terms of EQ, do I have a high EQ or do I have a low EQ? And what is my attitude whenever I encounter frustrating situations or situations that calls for sudden decisions? So what are my soft skills in handling this, in handling those? And then how do I handle stress? No? How do I talk to people my idea, especially if I don't like that person or I like that person? So those are soft skills. How do I develop rapport with the people around me? Am I a good team player? So those are under soft skills. Next is experience. No, the third part of the box is experience. No, like, for example, do I have experience in prototyping? Do I have experience in driving a car? Like, do I have experience in AutoCAD? Do I have experience in riding a bicycle? Do I have experience in designing something innovative? Okay, so what is also my experience about brainstorming? So if I don't have any experience of that, then I will not use that thing against me, because obviously I don't have experience, but at least I'm willing to learn. No, so the third corner of a box of any person is the experience to anything. No, so as we know, there are those people who have more experience than the others. Then that might be their advantage compared to their fellow teammates. No. So that's the experience. Last but not the least is the background. The background here is all about, like, for example, what's your family background? What's your family background? Like, where do you live? Do you live in the rural area? Do you live in the urbanized area? No? And in terms also of high school, in what school did you take up your high school? Is it a private school? Is it a public school? No? And what's your background in terms of let's say background about knowledge in terms of algebra, in terms of mathematics? What's your background knowledge about physics? What's your background knowledge about circuit designing? So it's all about the background. No, it's more connected on the personal level of the person or in the family pedigree. No, or and then also the educational background. No, so these hard skills, soft skills, experience, and background make up the box of any person. No, so each person is individually bounded by their own boxes. Each person is individually bounded by their own boxes. So I think it is easier said than done if you tell a person to think outside of the box, where in reality we are always bounded by our individual boxes. Okay, so why not doing design thinking? Why not, if you are this person, you are this box, then share yourself with other box, another box, other boxes, other boxes. So maybe this is you, these are your teammates. You share each other's boxes. No, it's all about sharing your boxes with the other boxes of your teammates or of the people around you. Like, for example, you are 10 in a group or you are 5 in a group, then therefore you are 5 boxes trying to share each other's boxes. No, maybe thinking outside of the box means that you expand your box. You expand your box. No, since you're individually bounded, you can only expand your box if you connect to the other box of other person. So that is the meaning of thinking outside of the box. You need to collaborate with each other. You need to discuss ideas with your teammates, and maybe you will fill in some gaps. No, example, you have the disadvantage of the thing that you are weak in mathematics, but you have a classmate who is good in mathematics. So at least share your box with him or share your box with her. No, and for example, if you have difficulty in programming or coding, then maybe share your box to a person who is very good in programming. Okay? So thinking outside of the box is expanding your box, no? Because in expanding your box, in collaboration, in brainstorming, in design thinking, you don't need to learn everything. You just need to actively share and be honest with your ideas. Okay? You don't need to learn everything, but you collaborate, you share what you can share. You just need to actively share and be honest with your ideas. Okay? So it's all about someone is talking, you listen, and with that, understanding comes in between. You know? It's expanding your box. That's the power of active listening and active participation, because it is very important, especially when you are thinking outside of the box or technically expanding your box with your teammates. So that's how powerful collaboration is. You're expanding your box, and then you are boosting also the corners of your very own box. Okay? So expect that as a design thinker, there will always be noise and creative chaos. Okay, chaos is a bad word, no? Because it's more like a negative word, but it's creative chaos, no? Creative chaos in the sense like you might agree on things, you might disagree on things, but all in all, those are very creative because along the way, you are consolidating your ideas and creating a solution to tackle or solve the deep needs of your target users, no? And then with that, if someone is talking, you develop active listening. That is one of the key components if you want to be a design thinker. Then you agree to disagree. You agree to disagree, and then you build on someone's ideas. That's how powerful collaboration is, no? So if you want to be a design thinker, be comfortable and do these things with your teammates. Okay? So eventually, the design thinking process will lead to something fruitful, interesting, and big unified idea with innovative feasibility. Like for example, you are assigned as a class to solve a given problem. So your instructor or the facilitator of a seminar might let you be grouped into, let's say, 6 groups, and eventually each of the groups will share their thoughts. Eventually, there will be presentation, and there will be a culmination that from 6 groups, strategically discussing, clustering, brainstorming everything, every solution. Eventually, it will become one big and innovative idea, one big innovative solution to solve the problem. Again, no, from collaboration in small groups, eventually it will be culminated into very large group, but the idea is getting smaller and smaller, but is more polished, more feasible, and more innovative along the way. So that is expected if you want to be a design thinker. Okay? Be comfortable about discussion. Be comfortable about discussing your ideas and work actively. Work well with your teammates. Okay? So, in design thinking, there is no such thing as rubbish or trash ideas, no? Some may be considered as weird or crazy ideas. But at the end of the day, everything are just wonderful concepts that just need to be polished. Okay? So you should have that mentality if you want to be a design thinker. It might, at first, the idea might be wild or maybe outside of this world idea, but eventually, who knows, that might be the solution. Okay, so you have to be humble, you have to be active, you have to give respect during brainstorming, agree to disagree. Eventually, those are very good habits to be a design thinker. Okay, so please believe in the process. So the ABCs of a design thinker, no? In order to put it in a nutshell, what are the ABCs of a design thinker? The do's and don'ts. First, don't assume. Don't assume, but do adapt. Don't assume, do adapt. Don't bias, don't bias, but do believe in the process, no? Like, for example, if you do design thinking, do not go, like, for example, you go directly to prototyping, no? Without doing the sense and sensibility, without doing the empathy, without doing the ideation, it will backfire to you along the way. And what you're doing is already biased. Like, for example, you're still in the process of extracting the problem, but you already have a solution in mind. That's not design thinking. Please believe in the process. Please believe in the process. Extract first the problem, and then you can now think for the solution. Okay? Last but not the least, don't conclude yet. Don't conclude yet, especially on the pitching part and in the gallery walk. But based on the feedback of the people around you, do consider their whereabouts. Do consider their compliments, their criticisms, and their suggestions. That's co-creation. Okay? So these are the ABCs of design thinking. Again, as a summary, don't assume, do adapt. Don't bias, do believe in the process. Don't conclude, but do consider. Okay? The ABCs of design thinking. So if you do design thinking for innovation, these are some helpful key tips, no, in doing design thinking. First, if you want to do something innovative, please don't always think about money. Not money, but meaning for the world. Try to think about something that can really disrupt the society in a way that even though it's a disruptive action, but it will improve the lives of the people around you or of the society. No, eventually maybe money will follow as long as you create an impact and meaning for the world. Always try to think about it when you pitch your solutions. No, am I creating a meaning for the world? Am I improving something? No, do not always think about money. Money will come later if your solution is actually having an impact or very innovative in nature. Next, jump on the next curve. So try to be disruptive. Try to defy the norms. Like, for example, the traditional solution of solving this problem is this. Then maybe try to discuss things with your teammates, do design thinking process, and create a solution. Jump to the next curve. Try to provide an unconventional solution. Maybe it is unconventional at first, especially if it is being as it is being understood by the target users, but maybe they might find it weird, they might find it unconventional, but as long as you can present it well, put the desirability details, the feasibility details, and the viability details, then that might be the solution. No? So jump on the next curve. Be courageous enough to do it. No? The next is 3. Don't worry, be crappy. Okay, don't worry, be crappy. Like, for example, design thinking is a repetitive process. It's a problem-solving process that it is expected that you might repeat several steps. Then just be comfortable about it. Shrug it off. Failure is part of learning, no? Like, for example, you do empathy, you do ideation, then you present your solution, and then the solution is rejected. Then embrace it. It's part of learning. At least the message that you have to do better empathy, better ideation, and better prototyping along the way, it will send the message to you, okay, you need to improve further. You need to work better with your teammates. No? So do it again. At least now you know what is the status of your work. So if you really want to help these people, don't worry, be crappy. Failure is part of learning. There is the thing called rejection therapy. Embrace it. Along the way, you are improving. Along the way, you are improving. Along the way, you are improving. So don't worry, be crappy. Then, number 4, niche yourself from the rest. No? Like, for example, if you have this common problem and then your solution, you have this solution, try to provide what makes your solution unique. What makes it disruptive, no? What is your value proposition about this thing, no? So you have to highlight that, because maybe you are pitching something, but maybe that solution of yours or that something has already been done previously by other groups, or historically it has already been done. So you have to niche yourself, be the unique one, be the disruptive one, and be the one that really offers true value in terms of value proposition and impact. Okay? So niche yourself from the rest. And then last but not the least, improve and perfect your pitch. You have to improve and perfect your pitch. Why? Because it would be very defeating, or it defeats the value if your team has a very good idea, if your team has a very good solution, but you don't know how to pitch it. So before presenting during gallery walk, before pitching it to stakeholders or venture capitalists or angel investors, you need to improve and perfect your pitch. Because what's the use again, What's the use of a very good idea if you yourself doesn't know how to channel it? So improve and perfect your pitch in order for you to have a better chance of gaining support with the solution you have in mind. Okay? So those are the 5 things that you need to consider in order to be a better design thinker in this world. Okay, so this would be the last part of my presentation. What are the key benefits of doing design thinking? What are the key benefits of doing design thinking? So first is that through design thinking, you develop brainstorming skills. You become more critical and innovative thinker. You develop your interview skills, no, and your empathy skills because it's part of the process. And then you appreciate better the teamwork because design thinking is usually done not by one person but by teams, no. So with that, whether you fail or whether you win the approval of the stakeholders or of the target users, you appreciate better the value of teamwork, especially in designing solutions and extracting the problems. Okay. Also, you develop better your curiosity because you research further, you read documentations, you watch more video presentations in order to amplify your understanding about some things connected to the problem, and you do self-directed learning. Now, this is one very good benefit if you are a design thinker. Then, with that, since you are working with other people, you develop positive behavior and self-discovery. No, you discover yourself. Okay, so this is how I behave whenever I work with other people. Okay, and you became more optimistic along the way. No, and then you develop discipline and responsibility and professionalism. No, because you follow the steps, you improve your innovative skills, and then you always interact with your team. You are comfortable with brainstorming. So those are very good development. No, if you are a design thinker or you practice design thinking. Last but not the least, you always develop this sense of purpose and achievement when doing design thinking, no? You become you pacify yourself like, okay, good job, self. I've done something for the community. Okay, we have a strong approval of a commitment of some investors that they will finance the solution, and with this helping some people or helping a given community or solving a problem would be very easier to be done. No, it would be easier done because there are already support from some business person in order to materialize the solution. And but the best thing here is the very strong approval or happiness, like the people around you will say their thank you. Okay, thank you for solving the problem for us. Okay, so even though you're still a student or a new graduate, using design thinking always gives you a sense of purpose and achievement, and it also improves your innovative skills, no, as a professional. Okay, so those are some of the benefits when doing design thinking. Because in design thinking, it is a holistic growth of any individual because it involves the head, it involves the heart, and then it involves the hands. No, doing design thinking, no, the 3H connection in the design thinking process: the head reinforces the heart prepares the hands, and the hands stimulate the head. No, because in the head part, you do research, you do clustering, you do analysis, you do concept development. In the heart, you do empathy. No, you do empathy with the target users. No, you empathize more with the problem. So those are hard skills. And then the hands, no, you do the clustering, you do the drawing, you do the prototyping, and then you do the pitching. Those are do skills, no? So again, the head reinforces the heart prepares the hands, and the hands stimulate the head. So it's a holistic process using design thinking. That's how powerful design thinking is when you do it in practice always. Okay? So in terms also of learning, design thinking usually involves group discussion, practice by doing, and teaching others. So that's why in the average learning retention rates, when you do design thinking, at least more than 50%, you are learning. No, the retention of your learning, whatever the experience is, whatever the brainstorming, the empathy, the interview, the discussions, the agreeing, the disagreeing, with that, more than 50% is your retention rate of learning, rather than the lecture, reading, audiovisual, and demonstration. But with group discussion, practice by doing, and the teaching others, design thinking improves your learning retention. And as we see with Bloom's taxonomy, this, as you know, this is Bloom's taxonomy. We have this: remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. But this apply, understand, and remember, these are lower order thinking skills. But these higher order thinking skills, this create, evaluate, and analyze, this is where design thinking resides, no? Because most of the time you analyze data, you evaluate options during concept development, you evaluate the situations during observation, then you create possibilities, no, in terms of solutions, in terms of innovative solutions that can help the problem. So this is where design thinking resides. So when using design thinking, you are actually activating higher order thinking skills. No? So nice, no? Higher order thinking skills because of design thinking. Okay? So it's all about shifting focus, guys. Shifting focus. In shifting focus using design thinking, instead of the traditional, you can't look dumb in front of others, but since you are collaborating with other people in design thinking, you are doing risk being wrong. No, you are comfortable risking being wrong, because at the end of the day, you are open-minded in sharing your ideas. With a traditional culture of perfection, but with doing design thinking, culture of good enough is okay. Okay? With always know the answer, instead, why not ask for help? You don't need to always know the answer. You can always ask for help. And then tested individually, na you are all rewarded as a team. Okay? Then, everyone is a competitor. Everyone is a competitor. Why not everyone is a resource? That's design thinking. Then last but not the least, instead of content-based, more on familiarizing ourselves with content, it's more on context-based. The context, the overall concept of the overall concept of the experience, no? Like you're doing this, you're not memorizing something, but you're doing this because it develops your skills. And at the end of the day, it's all about empathizing with the users. Like, why are you really doing this thing? No, you're doing this in the context of helping someone, in the context of extracting the problem, in the context of over the overview of everything, no? Like I'm doing this towards innovation, not just by content, but the context where there are skills development, better empathy, and better holistic growth, especially for those all people doing design thinking. Okay, so we need to shift our focus, because doing design thinking, this traditional mindset becomes this new mindset. You must risk being wrong, culture of good enough, ask for help, rewarded as a team, everyone is a resource, and context-based. Okay? So by frequently practicing design thinking, you eventually become an innovator that this world needs. Okay? You eventually become an innovator that this world needs. So practice design thinking, practice it frequently, and eventually be the innovator. Always improve yourself. Okay? So now I'm going to summarize my presentation. No? So what is design thinking? It's all about sense, empathize, ideate, prototype. It's a user-based designing focusing on empathy, focusing on the target users. And of course, it is iterative in nature. You're expected to do it again and again until you improve your product or you improve your solution. And it's a problem-solving approach towards innovation. Again, when you do design thinking, obviously, you are doing something innovative. Okay, so try to always think about that thing. So embrace design thinking with that mentality. So how to be a design thinker? You should always be active. You should always be participative. And you are the caster of innovation. You are the caster of innovation. You have to be collaborative. You have to be steps follower. And you have to be reflective. No? Most of the time you do as a design thinker, you always think. And after thinking, you share. Then sharing, you design. Along the way, you might fail, but it's part of learning. After from failure, you learn, you do it again. Eventually, you will succeed. So that's the mindset of a design thinker. You are not afraid to fail. You're always confident to share, and you're always open-minded to do things again because you believe that along the way, you are improving yourself. You are improving the solution. And by improving the solution, obviously, you can now solve the problem, especially if it is improved along the way, the solution. Okay. Last but not the least, what are the key benefits of doing design thinking? It's systematic thinking, professional growth, and innovative mindset. Systematic thinking, professional growth, and innovative mindset. So where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? So I am just giving you some keywords. Where do we go from here? You start, you empathize, you team up, you think options, fail, fail, repeat, learn by creating, visualize and share, and believe in the process. No? So start, empathize, team up, think options, fail, repeat, learn by creating, visualize and share, and believe in the process. Okay, so that's design thinking. And I hope we embrace this concept of design thinking because of its promise of developing ourselves better to become more innovative and solve the problems that really needs intervention. No? So looking forward that all of us and all of you will embrace design thinking and practice it. And let us declare ourselves eventually to be the innovators that this world needs. To be the innovators that this world needs. Okay? So I am Engineer Lojan B. Stampa, and I hope you've learned something about design thinking. Thank you, and God bless us all.